This first panel discussion is about urban economics, planning, the prospects and challenges of real estate in the post-pandemic and beyond. So my first question will be to Mr. Roswell. As you know, since the beginning of this pandemic, all sectors of the economy around the world have been impacted by this pandemic. What are the impacts of this pandemic in Cambodia, real estate industry?
It's a question we could probably spend the full session discussing, but I know that the time's been cut shorter, so I'll try to keep it brief. Generally what we have seen in Cambodia really does mirror global trends in the real estate sector. As you rightly say, COVID-19 has impacted all sectors of the economy, and this has included real estate and construction sectors, which is one of the main drivers of the growth in the Cambodian economy pre-COVID-19. And we have seen a noticeable slowdown during the last 12 months. This has had knock-on effects, across the wider services sectors, and also the Cambodian SME sector, which was one of the backbones of the economy. And according to the World Bank, Cambodia's economy contracted by approximately 3.1% during 2020. Globally, one of the key trends, as well, two of the worst impacted sectors have certainly been tourism, hospitality, and also retail. Obviously, with all the travels restrictions in place, that's had a significant impact on tourism arrivals, and also in terms of movement restrictions and lockdown measures that have been implemented has led to a significant decline in foot traffic to retail malls and also high street retail. So this is something that we have seen in Cambodia. Tourism arrivals declined by up to 90%. This was also one of the key drivers of economic growth prior to COVID-19. So what we did see is that a number of hotels and also tourism-related sectors either temporarily or permanently closed or ceased operations. And whilst we managed to avoid any real movement restrictions for the best part of 1 year, we did also see this in the retail sector, in terms of the impact on the economy and the decline in consumer spending, and also the decline in footfall to retail malls. Many retailers did have to cease operations because it just wasn't sustainable to operate the businesses. But as the saying goes, every cloud has a silver lining. I think one of the buzzwords of 2020 was accelerator, and how COVID-19 had been an accelerator of trends that were already present in the market. That includes e-commerce, and that was something that was particularly evident in Cambodia. We saw significant growth in certainly in food delivery apps, also other online shopping platforms. Globally, this has actually led to increased demand for industrial and logistics assets, which was actually the industrial logistics sector was one of the top performers during 2020, and something where we see good medium to long-term potential in Cambodia within the industrial logistics sector, particularly as the government continues to spend on major infrastructure projects, and also Cambodia's strategic location within Southeast Asia and ASEAN. One of the trends that COVID accelerated was certainly working from home, and the way in which we work. I know that in 2020, many market commentators were saying that this spelt the death of the office. We now know that just simply isn't true, and that working from home is not a one-size-fits-all policy. It's very much needs to be assessed on a country by country basis, and also sector specific. It's not something that can be just rolled out across the region, and that's something certainly that we saw here in Cambodia in terms of the limitations on the ICT infrastructure. And also the fact that many people still working or still living in multi-generational housing. So it can be difficult for employees to actually find dedicated space for them to be able to work. And this can impact on productivity. So, whilst many companies will be looking at implemented blended strategies of working from home and also being office-based, we don't really see that having a big impact on the office sector in Cambodia. And also this is supported by Knight Frank recently released one of the flagship publications called Your Space, where we surveyed almost 400 global occupiers, and surprisingly over the next 3 years, 30% of respondents indicated that they would be expanding their footprint, their office space footprint. 35% said that it would remain the same, and only 35% indicated that they would be reducing their footprint. So the office is certainly not dead, but it does need to be reimagined. So watch this space moving forward. One of the top performing sectors in Cambodia was certainly the residential sector. And again, this is something that we've seen throughout the region and globally. Whilst companies may be looking to reduce office space, everyone needs somewhere to live. Pre-COVID-19, a lot of the demand in the residential sector was underpinned by foreign investment. Obviously, with the travel restrictions in place during 2020, we did see a decline in this foreign investment. But what was interesting is actually there was quite a big uptick in domestic activity within the residential sector. And this went some way to offsetting that decline in foreign investment coming in. So that was really a good indication of the local market, the domestic market on the residential. Last but not least, and again, in line with a global trend, many companies, many investors have been waiting in the sidelines with dry powder, waiting for distressed assets to come to the market, and it just simply hasn't happened. The banks have been very supportive. I know they were working closely with the National Bank of Cambodia. They were they restructured a lot of their loan portfolio during 2020. So as yet, we have yet to see any distressed assets come to market. So let's see what the next 6 months hold.
That's a good news. Mr. Satyajit Yuk, what is the main challenges that need to face the real estate industry with this pandemic?
Thank you very much, Ja. And I think Ross mentioned a lot about the impact brought about by this pandemic. So going forward, it will be for the real estate sector, I think, as well as other sector, of course, of the economy, to manage, to survive and grow within this pandemic and beyond. Of course, COVID-19 is a global pandemic that will have lasting effect on how people live and how people work and how people play. And as for Cambodia, I think Cambodia has gone through the most challenging situation of COVID since the first outbreak. And Cambodia is now on the recovery trajectory with the vaccination campaign in good progress. So for real estate, real estate leader, I think they have taken various actions so far to minimize the impact by the pandemic, as well as, to best serve the end user or the client, and to ensure their survival, their viability. So moving forward, the key challenges, for now and going forward for the real estate sector is to continue to adapt, to the new normal to survive and grow. And second is to prepare and be ready to shield the business from any similar shock in the future. So that's the challenges for moving forward, for real estate. And for example, the business model, the real estate leader will have to look at the business model to suit the new normal post-pandemic and beyond. We have seen the more adoption of the digitalization, in the company operation, as well as sale and purchase or leasing, especially for those projects who are, targeting foreign investor. And beside that, there's some, health and safety issue that become even more important than before, both at the office as well as at the construction side. As you can see, in the last few days, there's more COVID cases at the construction side that bring a lot of number into the new cases. So, real estate sector, especially developer or contractor, must have plan B, in case of both the travel restriction, lockdown, as well as to plan to improve the staff and worker health and safety, because if the worker get infected, then the whole site is in limbo. As for the company operation, the backup office, like Ross mentioned about some company manage to work from home, but it's not always a solution for all. So kind of secondary office in case of the primary office is in lockdown mode, so that the company can still continue to operate. I mean, for big group of company, like Worldbridge, we are fine because we have some flexibility in terms of our office space is not in one location, so we have more flexibility as compared to those who have only one office premises. Also, the project financing and cash flow management, that's need to be remain one of the top priority, as well as challenge for the company to really look at it, to keep business stay afloat during such a crisis as this pandemic. And another aspect also, if the company or the project needs, any approval license from the government, so you need to be have more time reservation, because if the lockdown is in place, then even the government official, they cannot perform their job. Their office is closed. So the same way. And the final note on that is the in terms of project planning, right? To factors, such public health issue as COVID-19 in terms of spatial management, natural ventilation, safe and convenient neighborhood, especially I would say adding the health aspect on top of the ESG objective of the business. I think that Mr. Yamin has mentioned clearly on the four element, the livability, the sustainability, the resilience, and the affordability. So the project master planning need to be looking at those as as the reference, as something that we need to target. So these are the challenges that property development project, as well as the real estate industry, need to adapt and to overcome now and post-pandemic. Thank you.
Thank you. Mr. Yin, as Sotirit mentioned, he mentioned about digital transformation. We saw around the world a digital transformation of all sectors of the economy. It seems that it's also the case in Cambodia, with many companies who implement this strategy before the beginning of the pandemic, like a bank, like a taxi, like food delivery. What is the current situation? And do you think it's essential now that companies follow this trend of digital transformation in Cambodia? Mr. Ying Leong, can you unmute? Yes.
Yeah, thank you, Charles. And hello, Mr. Sotirit, Mr. Soknim, and Ross. Okay, your question in terms of my website, that We are the leading company new in Cambodia, and we focus on economic and real estate new in Cambodia. For me, like a CEO, and I focus and I follow on that. I saw that the Cambodian people now they use technology a lot. Like yesterday, NBC, National Bank of Cambodia, they released that increase of Cambodian people around 60%, 60, increase use mobile phone for transfer money or use not use the money, just by technology, by phone, transfer money, and when they go to the market, go to anywhere. In Cambodia, 10 million older people they use Facebook, and mostly a young generation. And I see it in the COVID period. It have a lot of opportunity also for food delivery, for many service like food, like telecommunication company, and about for in real estate sector. In real estate sector, that technology is very important now, because in COVID period the people, the investor, they cannot meet face by face. They contact each other by mobile phone, by technology. Like us, we cannot meet each other face by face. We meeting in Zoom now. It is yeah. It is I think it is the good news also, a good chance also for technology company that they invest on that. For example, like Zoom, now it's very popular. Yeah, before everyone, I think most of the people, they don't know Zoom in Cambodia, like me also. But now we use Zoom. So in the COVID period, for my idea, I don't want everyone focus on that crisis too much, but think in positive thinking, because positive way. Because why? Because when you think on the crisis in everything, in every way, you will have depression. You will get depression. I have a lot of friends. They got depression of COVID. My friend, they got depression. So for me, for example, like my company, Property Area.Asia, and the Cambodia Financial Times, we affect, we decrease of income around 50%, and now around 30%, but I still not much. I think it is because it is the period. COVID is just one period. It will finish soon. So for my new, for example, like my new, we publish every day. I ask my staff, around 10 guys. I ask my staff, please don't focus much on COVID. Just find the positive way. Just find the positive thinking for the people. For example, like, okay, like Russian, that they finding vaccine or something like that from China, something like that. So make the people hope. Make the people don't focus much on the negative thinking. So that's why my company, it's small, but we still survive. And because I find a way how to survive for my company, how to help my staff, and I also cut salary around 50%, and then now 30%, but they stay with me. still stay with me and work hard with me because they know about the COVID, what the impact of the COVID. So in the Cambodia, like I mentioned a moment, mostly all the Cambodian people now they use they use technology. They use smartphone. Mostly they use smartphone like a SIM card in the among Cambodian people around 16 million, but SIM card is more than 20 million they use in the Cambodia. For me, like I use 2 SIM card from 2 company also. So according all this COVID period, I think we should focus on and think in positive way. I think everything it will be good on the end of this year because like tourist sector yesterday Ministry of Tourism Ministry Tourism they want to open Siem Reap Angkor for tourists who inject vaccine COVID vaccine already that they can visit in Siem Reap. And like industrial sector, like government sector, I think it will increase. Now it's good, and agriculture is good. It's good for Cambodia also, and real estate sector I think will be increased soon. Now step by step they wake up from the COVID, from the crisis of the COVID, because the government open the country for people can go anywhere, any place to find the opportunity to invest, to check the project or something like that. So the COVID period, I think we have a big problem together. It's not from only Cambodia, it's around the world, but some sector is good. They got opportunity. They got a lot of chance, good chance for the develop the company or for the income, the profit, something like that. Yes, thank you.
Thank you, Mr. Yin. Thank you for this positive message. It's very important to remain positive, as you mentioned. And of course, the government has done a lot of things with the campaign of vaccination, and we have in Cambodia a highest rank of vaccination if we compare to other countries in the region, which could be a good solution to move forward. As you mentioned about digital transformation, Mr. Shrek Soknim, what do you think about digitalization of the real estate sector in Cambodia? Do the developer have developed these tools, or real estate agents, do they use these tools and use a website or social media in order, in particular, to attract foreign investors who are unable to travel to Cambodia, considering the current situation?
Yeah, thank you, Charles, that provide this provide this question. It's very good question to audience at this time. You know, Cambodia country is the developed country that they just only develop about their technology, but they also experience from the other country to use the last technology from other country in the world also. In real estate sectors, we have been using the last technology about real estate developers and also the agent. Mostly the agent, they use the Google Map and also some tool that have about in the CRM or either client management that they can have to facilitate about their business also. During about COVID-19, a lot of agents, they invent their business by using the technology. There is many tools that they can have about the real estate business in Cambodia in using the real estate. The more popular at the moment, they use Zoom, But beside this, they also use the Google meeting and also the other media, social media that provide the free and easy facilitate like Messenger, like Skype and other tool. But the official that they use at the moment is they use the CRM. CRM, it can be some part of the CRM from their own creative or customized from the other website and from the other developer company. Either they also can use the CVA MLS. In Cambodia, in the Cambodia Valor and Estate Agent, we create the MLS listing service that other agent and developer, they can share their property listing in Cambodia. And also they can join that website for advertise into the tool. Besides this, they also can use the tool to create and manage their agent in the country also. I think not only the CRMs, but also with the communication to the client and potential, we divide into two parts. Number one, we call local context and international context. With the local context, mostly in Cambodia, the population, media and digitalized, they use Telegram, they use Facebook, Messengers and WhatsApp, and some part Zoom, and also some lines. But this is also in the local. But if you would like to connect for the international buyer and like other region like China, mostly we use Chowise, that this website that connect to a lot of investor in China, and also some part if we have the link connection, the office in China, that is we use the tool to help to provide them. Besides this, we have some other tool we call property tour. Property tour is the software that you can do with the 360-degree photograph, and then you can view the photos with their website and pay the fee. This mostly some part of our team they use, mostly in the projects, because the project we don't have the construction yet, we don't have the building yet, so we use the property tour to help to guide the investor that they stay in the other country, but they still can see about the project in Cambodia or other area in ASEAN country. I think with the Cambodia at the moment, for the company that we have the connection with the ASEAN country and in the world, we connect through the network and platform. So like in China, we use Chowai. It is another platform. In USA, we use about the website and tool like Google and some part of the connected website in the group, so that we can do all that to the connection to the investor in other country in ASEAN and in the world also. I think with that digitalization, we can have a lot with the agent that they can control their property, their property listing, their client, and sell a lot of time to show some basic information to the client that help them to reconsider or basic consideration for the customize of the potential client. Besides this, they also have the opportunity to deal a lot of client with the different part and sell the time also. I think during the COVID is a good time to learn from each other, especially learn from this crisis, but we live in the different situation. People save a lot of time to dealing the business because they use the Zoom, they use another technology. The people can easy to communicate by like it seems like provide the equal from in the world, because now we do the many we do the conference with from different country in the world. So I think it also can make a lot of benefit to do for this new renovation for the digitalization. So in Cambodia, we use a lot of websites, media support that can build and help the real estate agency and developers. some developer, they use the program that they can control their client, they control their financial, they control their staff. With all that program and digitalization, it can be two-part, customized. Either they bought it from the international website and the group that, so it can help, and a lot of people sell the time for their approval also. Yeah, I think at the meantime in Cambodia we can start. So especially for finding the property for client, they can use in many tools like the Google Map. Just only plugs into the Google Map in the area, you can see a lot of property listed related to the relevant that you would like to looking for, especially like in the other bookings and in realestate.com, in CVA MLS. So all that kind and other website, but we are not yet to be synchronized for one place yet. Some our member in our organization CVA, we have 130 members as the company, 130 company to be member. They some company, they do their own website, they have their own CRM to control their staff and team. So they provide and contact to their client, and also for Digitalize can help them like some other top 5 real estate valuation company. They use their technology to do the indication plus just only some short of time to know the price of the real estate in Cambodia. Yeah, I think in conclusion that at the moment, Cambodia, they start to use Digitalize, selling the time. So we renovate, we invent the situation that can help about the business during this difficulty time. Yeah, thank you.
Thank you, Soknim. It's very important to know that in Cambodia, we use all digital tools and application like, as you say, about Zoom, about Microsoft team, also about all application, depending on with who we communicate. If we communicate with more Chinese consumer, we will use WeChat. If it's more from US or from Europe, it will be more WhatsApp or Telegram. So it's very important to know that also we have like developers have developed their own website, but also they have developed publication on social media like Facebook, like Instagram. But this is for the private sector, but also even the public sector, like the Ministry of Land Management, Urban Planning and Construction, have also developed their own application where they publish all their building permits. So it's very important to know that we have moved to this digital transformation, and this can help to attract investors, especially during this kind of crisis. Now, in order to move to another concept, a new concept, I would like to discuss with you, Ross. It's a concept which is called 15-minute city, which is a residential urban concept in which all city residents are able to meet most of their needs within a short walk or by bicycle. This concept was popularized in Paris by the mayor of Paris, Anne Hidalgo, but it was inspired by a French Colombian scientist, Carlos Moreno. What do you think, how it could apply in Cambodia and more generally also in ASEAN country?
Yes, yeah, I mean, it's certainly relevant in today's environment, and for the topic of this first panel discussion in terms of urban economic planning. It's not a new concept. It was first mooted back in 2016, but certainly a term that I wasn't familiar with before the pandemic. Fundamentally, as you mentioned, it's a concept whereby residents, they have access to everything they need within a 15-minute walk or bicycle ride from where they're living. And this includes healthcare, education, living, working, commerce, and entertainment spaces. I mentioned this at the start of the session in terms of COVID-19 and how it's been an accelerator. And this is certainly one of the trends that we're seeing emerging more so across Europe. And Knight Frank has seen rising popularity of properties located within walkable neighborhoods, and also development schemes. And these neighborhoods, they can actually significantly improve the residents' quality of living, reducing dependency on cars, therefore reducing congestion and pollution, and actually encouraging a healthier lifestyle. And this was actually evident in Barcelona, where they implemented a project back in 2016 called Superblocks. And within these superblocks, they restricted traffic to the main roads on the outskirts of these blocks surrounding the block. And they gave back the internal road network to pedestrians and also cyclists. And studies have actually suggested that within these walkable neighborhoods, it can actually help prevent premature death through air pollution, attributed to air pollution, noise pollution, and heat pollution. And also it can encourage a more active lifestyle. This can reduce obesity and therefore diabetes. And then that leads to reducing stress on health services. Whilst Cambodia is at a very early stage of development, the government has an opportunity to implement planning policy that encourages the development of these inclusive, integrated, walkable neighborhoods, which promotes a more active lifestyle, and it also helps to reduce carbon emissions. Something that we've seen on a micro level in terms of the increasing number of mixed-use projects that have been launched in Cambodia. These comprise a range of components, including residential, commercial, and retail, following the live, work, and play theme. As we see an increasing number of satellite cities they're being launched at the fringes of the Phnom Penh city. Really, it'd be great if we can encourage developers and also architects to take a more holistic approach to master planning these projects. Taking into account the concept of the 15-minute city. With Knight Frank, we're actually working on a project at the moment. We're working with the architectural practice, helping to the master plan. And at the heart of this project is a centralized pedestrian plaza. And within that plaza, you have outside activity spaces, you have event spaces, you have alfresco food and beverage, you have large water bodies. This is all interconnected with sky bridges, ways, cycling paths. And then this central green lung is then supported by surrounding components, which includes residential, office, and hotel, very much in keeping with the 15-minute city concept. And this is something that we would like to see across more projects being launched in Cambodia. Recently, in terms of what we experienced in Phnom Penh, where the city was zoned into dependent on level of COVID cases across the city, so red, orange, yellow. So that's on a very micro scale, but we're certainly seeing increasing demand for these types of projects and neighborhoods, and it can also help reduce cross transmission across cities when people have everything they need within a so-called 15-minute city. So I think it's a very interesting concept, and one we will see more as a result of what we've experienced during the COVID-19 pandemic.
Thank you, Ross. And this will help also to reduce road traffic, and as you say, it will reduce pollution and everything. So it's a very interesting concept that should be more implemented by the developers together with City Hall at a town planning level. So thanks for this presentation. Mr. Yuk, we saw a lot of new development in terms of infrastructure in Cambodia, with a lot of new roads, a new development of airports. I heard yesterday that the new airport in Phnom Penh is completed at a stage of 40% at the moment. How this public infrastructure investment can help to recover the real estate sector?
Thank you again, Charles, for the question. Yes, I think as we all know that the public investment in infrastructure development can help create job, that's increase people disposable income, and then it will drive the economy, the whole economy overall, which would give a boost to the real estate sectors. And this is particularly so important, in the context of this global health pandemic, because as you just said, yes, the news yesterday that the new airport, New Phnom Penh International Airport, is now 40% completed, which is quite promising. And together with the ring road number 3, cutting across the southern part of Phnom Penh, it will bring along the supporting industry to the surrounding area, including residential, industrial, logistic, extra. For example, so far we have under World Bridge, we have developed, we have started the construction of what we call the SME cluster project on the southern part of Phnom Penh. So that's more project, and you can see more residential projects are underway in the southern part of Phnom Penh. I believe this together will have a real estate sector to recover. I would say faster than it would be without such a public investment in the infrastructure. And of course, also there's as you can see, there's the new flyover to be built, connecting from Phnom Penh city to the new international airport in the southern of Phnom Penh. So this all together, will help real estate as well as the whole economy recover, and for GDP grow to gain momentum again. And similarly, if we look at the sport infrastructure, now Cambodia is preparing for the Asian Games 2023, and which is about the development of the Morodok Daejo Stadium on the northern part of Phnom Penh. And with this, World Bridge Sport Village also under construction for that, so that the whole altogether will boost the real estate sector in the area to recover, and also the local economy. And if you look at other provinces, I think it's similarly, like the infrastructure upgrade in Siem Reap, the new airport in Koh Kong, the upgrade of airport in Sihanouk Ville. This will have, especially in Siem Reap, that the upgrade of the road infrastructure in the city, will make new face of Siem Reap, to be more charming and ready to welcome both domestic and international visitor when COVID situation is better and stable. So it's important, and of course it's the funding of this major infrastructure development project play a key part of that, to make sure that the project will go through and complete as scheduled, or even though during this COVID situation. So that's all together will have both the local economy, employment, and the real estate sector. Thank you.
Thank you. Yes, Mr. Yin. Before Ross mentioned that there is no distressed asset on the market. Do you see yourself any decrease in terms of price of the land, price of houses or condominium units further to this pandemic? What is the current situation in terms of market in Cambodia further to the pandemic? Is it a good time to invest?
Yes, Sean. More expert and more CEO of real estate company that they promote it be very good time for invest on condo market or invest on land or landlord, something like that. In like as my website that we focus on real estate new in Cambodia. Every day we publish around 20 articles in Khmer and in English. So we write in many things in Cambodia and translate article from around the world. So I think about the land price in Cambodia, mostly not decrease. Decrease it when they decrease the price, or for example, I want to sell my land, my farm, my property. If I have a good cash flow, I don't sell. But if I have a crisis in cash flow, I will sell. Cambodia people is like this. No one can force them. No, the market situation cannot force them. Because when, for example, I invest myself, when I invest myself by my market or my money, and so if I have cash flow good, I don't have crisis in my family, in my company, I not sell, I not decrease my price. But it's easy. But mostly in the condo market. In the condo market, I saw many projects, they have special promotion. Some project they discount around 20%, 30%, but what the behind, I'm not sure. They mark out the price or not. You know what I mean? For example, in the it's not a COVID period, they sell just 400,000, but when COVID period, they sell 500,000, and then they promote, they decrease 20% or 30%. So the price, it means the price is the same. It is the way.
It's a strategy.
Yeah. The way or it is the market or the way or they try to promote the project or try to sell the project. Yeah, but for my experience, I meet many guys, I meet many expert, I meet many developer. I think developer in Cambodia might focus on what? On profit. I think the real estate sector in Cambodia, they think about profit too much. Around the world, I think the businessman is like this, but not much focus on that, because I see some research, they got a lot of profit. For example, you need a condo, you need a condo project or something like that. They sell the project in term, or they invest, but they got profit around 100 or 80%. I think it's too much. And when we compare about the land price, the real estate price, like a condo, borai, flat house or something like that, to other countries, I see some research, some data in Cambodia is higher than another country, some part of real estate. And like For example, like the land price also. Many experts said, okay, land price in Cambodia is cheaper than country around in Cambodia. But I think it's not cheap. Why? Because you can check the income of the people. I mean GSP, income of the people every year. Cambodia around 1,600 only for 1%, 1 month. But in Thailand, around 8,000. In Malaysia, around 12,000. In Vietnam, around 5,000. In Laos, is higher than Cambodia also. Laos PDR. So why that the property price in Cambodia is cheap? I think it's not cheap if we compare the income for the Cambodia people, because we are still developing country. We if we emerge, if we are like a country, emerging country that we develop fast, but in the city, in the province, some.
I see.
Yeah. I think some people are very poor also. In Phnom Penh, maybe year 2017, have a new research that they know that the Cambodia people that living in Phnom Penh, they have income around 6,000 every month. No, 6,000 1 year income for everyone. It's the maximum. But for total in the country, just 1,600. So for my conclusion, I think the developer not focus much on profits, and the land price, or some I meet some developer that they said that the land price increase in Cambodia like crazy. For example, in around Ring Road 3, in around New Phnom Penh International Airport, before land price, I think it 5 years ago, 3 years ago, 5 years ago, it around 10 or $30 per square meter, but now it around 300 for per square meters, or 500. So the housing development that they said, oh, very crazy. They cannot find the land for develop the borai or the flat house, something like that. So I mean the infrastructure of infrastructure that government invests a lot in Cambodia for boosting economic growth. We have seen many projects like the National Road, Expressway from Phnom Penh to Sihanoukville, from Phnom Penh to Babat in the future soon, and many ring road like Ring Road 4, and many projects. It make good for Cambodia people that they can benefit from the infrastructure develop from government. But what I think we have impact too. Once it make a land price or real estate booming. It sometimes I mean sometimes when the real estate, the land, the house, the condo is very expensive, it affect to the people, to affect to investor also. And one more should be investor should be not much focus on profit.
Okay.
Yeah,
Thank you. Thank you. So it's clear that there is no decrease in terms of price, and as mentioned also by Ross and by you, there is no real distress asset at the moment, which is a good situation compared to the crisis and to the situation that we can see on some countries abroad. Soknim, before we spoke about, I saw that the previous speaker were mentioning about interest rate, that the interest rates are quite high in terms of financing and real estate financing in Cambodia. And it's true if we compare to interest rate in a Western country. So what do you think? Which role will need to play the bank in order to help the recovery of the real estate sector?
Yes, thank you, Charles. We are challenging to compare for one country to the others because Western country, they was born long time ago, developed long time ago. People have a lot of money. They don't have a place to put, they just only put into the banks. Like the developed country, Japan, USA, Australia, and also in China, in Asia also, they have a lot of money. So that's why in Singapore, I think in Singapore is some people, they would like to put their money in the bank. Some bank, they charge the interest rate back from the clients. But, in Cambodia is the developed country, we are limited the cash. So that's why the interest rate is still a bit high. But if we compare into the solution for the growing of the real estate industry in Cambodia, we divide into two parts. Number one, we call leverage finance from the banks. Number two, short-term leverage finance from the microfinance, either developers. Because a lot of challenging when we provide the client to the bank. The bank, they have a lot of clients. So that's why they need to pick up the good client and good profile. So at the first start, the client challenging to get a loan to buy the house. So that's why the developer, they provide the loan for short-term period that people can buy the real estate, and then they took for a while and they convert that loan into the banking. With the banking, we call microfinance and banking. Microfinance, they charge more interest because they are focused on different sectors. Like microfinance, they don't have the authorized to get the deposit. So they lend the money from the other bank, either from the investor. So that's why their interest is a bit higher. With the banks, we can get the deposit. So if the bank that they can get a lot of deposit, they will flexible with their interest rate based on the money that they have in their current account. Whether they short of cash, either they have over cash. If over cash, some bank, they do the promotion, it seems that they have a lot of money that they pay the interest back to the depositor. So I think with that situation at the meantime, we need to synchronize which point that the investor, they start to invest in the real estate. In the short term, they would like to pick up or get the opportunity from the investment of real estate. They can buy with the borrow, they take the loan or free installment. They convert for meantime 5 to 6 months or 3 months. They have the profile, they convert into the banking. They get lower interest around 5 or 6, microfinance, sometimes 8 or 10. With all this, they convert. So it means half price or half interest rate from the developers, from the developer company. But from the developer company, they just only have the tool that they can sell their property. This is the tool. In the reality, they did not want to compare with the bank or get the lower interest like the bank, because the developer, they also loan the money from the bank also. I think to provide the strengthen our real estate market, we have many factors that can help the real estate market. just let all of you know that in Cambodia at the moment, real estate is not disease or very difficult. It's just only challenging during, it's not crisis, it's just only challenging after COVID-19 as people cannot travel. So that's why the power, when the situation is good, just only within the last 2 weeks, a lot of people, they travel, but only the local people, they go to outside of the city to see about the opportunity to invest in the real estate. If we compare about the return on investment in the real estate, we divide into two parts. Number one, we call individual investor. Number two, we call developer investor. With the developer investor, they also have if they are in the good profile, they also can build their house and then they resell it, they sell it to the client. Mostly the project was sold. But for the condominium, it is the new market in Cambodia. It just only start within this good market, and people can understand about the benefit of it around the last 4 to 5 years. So people will get the experience from the good environment of condo. But about the culture, Cambodia culture, they would like to stay in the houses with their family, big family. So this is the culture that they build. And beside this, we also face about the challenging of the real estate. Like for example, if the project was coming out, when the developer, they are brand named, mostly it's sold out. But some developer, they are not branded, they cannot sell it out. Because to have the real estate sold, it's not about the price itself, about the trust, earn the trust, about how they work with agent. Because some developer, they are not good, but they work with the agent, they facilitate with the agent, so they can have the power of selling their project. Some part of the project, they just only launch for short term and they can sell it out because they have many behind the scene that they can have their project. A lot of real estate agent, they work with the agent, they provide the good benefit between developer and agent, so they have the developer to sold out. We experienced that in some part of project, like in Cambodia. I think even though the condominium is also the new trend in Cambodia, but good some part, good out like Maison, Le Condés, they provide the good take care of the agent. So they build a lot of relationship with the agent. So all that agent, if you split the developer itself, they just only have 10 to 20 sale only. But if they split to the real estate agent, like our company, it has over 300 staff, full-time and part-time. And with the CVA, we have 130 company. If we can talk it, we benefit from it. So people will understand about that benefit. 130 company, at least if you multiply only 10 staff per each company, a lot of agents in Cambodia that they really need to take care from the developer that can boost. Besides this, because when the agent that they have the good relationship with the bank, they can have to sell the transaction. Because some agent, they not only doing the sell real estate, they provide the solution to the developer also. They recommend the bank because when they have the solution of sell and buying the real estate, it's not about the cash. We have two parts. We call by buying by cash, either leverage the finance. If the agent that they have the skill and experience about the leverage the finance, so they will have a lot of closing the deal and transaction. So banking is one part to boost or recover about the real estate market in Cambodia. But not only this, government play a very key important role to recover or to boost the real estate market. You see about the Cambodia trend, especially in Phnom Penh city, you will see about the ring road number 1, They grow the first start, they go to ring road number 2, they go to ring road number 3. Now they start to new ring road number 4. This is the new policy of the royal government of Cambodia by the Samdai Chakya Mahasana Pradesh Hun San. They have the strong and clear strategy to boom about the real estate market in Cambodia. Besides this strategy and poverty is just only one part, but they also to support by leverage about the banking. If you go with the banking, standard banking, you have a lot of proper document that they support into the getting the loan. But people not always qualify. So we need to reduce some part of level of people, the client. So they reduce to go to a bit high risk, but microfinance. So this is another level that they can loan their money to buy the property also. The next level we call develop with the developers. So they get the loan from the developer. So I think this is the clear strategy in Cambodia that if we are the investor, we know exactly where we want to go, where we want to start. If you don't have the money, it's not about the end of buying transaction of real estate. You don't have the money, you need to have the thing. When you have the redesign thinkings, so you will have the chance to look into the real estate market. Your design thinkings, it is about like you don't have the money at the first start, or your money is somewhere else. Not at this time to buy the good project. So you buy the project with finance with developers. You have some time, you finance with the bank, so you refinance it back. So I think this is the strategy that can play very important to sustainable of the real estate market in Cambodia. So beside this, we need to work with the related party to boom, to provide the trust into the market. If we work with the agents, we provide them the trust to the client, advice, not only one project, 1, 2, or 3 projects. They compare about what kind of project that they provide the benefit to the developer. What is the time that provide the discount, opportunity, finance, some part of the legalization, due diligence. With all this, some part that can help about the protect their investment from in Cambodia. So I think foreigner, they have a lot of good money to invest in other country in ASEAN, but working with the agent will more safe, provide you the good information and research a lot of benefit. So with this situation, banking is still a very key important role to sustain or increase the real estate growth in Cambodia, in the region, or either in the ASEAN country or in the world also. Yeah, thank you, Chan.
Thank you, Soknim, for all this information. Very interesting. As you mentioned about the developer who work with agents, it's true that this can really facilitate their project or their sell project. Also, you mentioned about in order to facilitate the acquisition by investors, that a lot of Cambodian developers propose no financing. It's not in order to compete with the bank, but it's just to facilitate the obtaining of financing because they are less strict in terms of criteria in order to obtain the financing. And it's also true that the interest rate is quite high in Cambodia if we compare to Western country. But I would like just to say that because we have also very high saving rate in Cambodia. So the saving rate is very high compared to other country in a Western country. So because we have a high saving rate, we have also a high interest rate. It's linked together. So thanks everyone for this presentation. I don't know if we have still time for some questions from the audience. Monica? Do we have some questions from the audience, and we have still time before we move to the second panel discussion?
Yes, Mr. Cole. So I think we still have one more questions from the audience because of
so
time.
Can you pick up the question? Which question?
Yes, I think I can read out one question from our audience. So the question is from Mr. Okat Gail. So his question is that what is likely some opportunity cost that affordable housing in Cambodia is going to be faced? As in the discussion today, we from our keynote and from our panel today also talk something more a little bit about affordable housing and its futures in Cambodia. So is that we also would like to know more about the challenges was the cost that affordable housing and how it's be like. So I would like to pass this floor to our speakers.
Okay.
If you could answer to the question.
Yes.
Thank you.
Thank you. So Thierry, as a CEO of Wardbridge Home, do you want to answer this question with your experience of affordable houses?
Thank you. I think the question here is look at the affordable cost that, opportunity cost that affordable housing in Cambodia is going to face. To be honest, I'm not quite sure what the question is exactly, but I will try to answer and see if that answer the question or not, because I think from the consumer side, from the end user side, it's not really investment for them. Mainly it's their first home ownership. So it's about using the saving to have a proper place that they can call home. So that's why, for the developer, that the ultimate goal of our development, to make sure that the home product that we provide to the client, it's good value for the buyer, because they use all their life saving to just get it. So we look at the quality, we look at the amenity that needed, for convenient and safe neighborhood. Because even though it's affordable housing, we don't want it to be later become a slum or become an, part of informal settlement, So this is something that I would say any developer or investor who would like to invest in affordable housing sector need to look into very carefully. For Wardbridge, we have set some kind of some bar for that, some minimum kind of standard that we believe would be useful and add value for the buyer in terms of the quality, in terms of the amenity, in terms of master planning, the design and all that, to look at, the social impact, to look at, to achieve the social impact, the environmental impact of the project, as well as the economic impact, which, we provide like commercial space, the community market that can provide both job and business opportunity for the resident, for the people. So this is something that I don't think that as an opportunity cost for the buyer. And moving forward, to link it with the public infrastructure investment project by the government, because I think Cambodia, especially Phnom Penh, it's just a matter of time. Phnom Penh will have to adopt the public transport system more efficiently, that can shorten the travel time between, different part of the city into the center of the city. And that, because if you look at the distance at the moment, the distance from different project, residential project in various parts of Phnom Penh to the CBD, to the center of the city. The distance itself, the physical distance is very not far, but it's just the traffic jam and all that make the travel time longer. So, I mean, in the future, when the government put in place this public transport system, then it will shorten the travel time, and it will boost, raise the value of the property in the suburb of the Phnom Penh. So this is how I see it, and I think it's just a matter of time, because the government is working very hard on this to secure a commercially viable public transport project, that will benefit both the investor as well as the sustainable of the project, affordable by the user also. Yeah, I'm not sure if that I answered the question.
Correct. It's what we mentioned also before about the development of all the infrastructure which help to the development of the real estate sector, and also the concept mentioned by Ross about the 15-minute city. Anyone wants to add something? Ross, Saknim, Liang Kong, you want to add something about
Yeah, just to add to that, looking at it from a finance perspective and the opportunity cost of capital, ultimately, yes, developing affordable housing, the opportunity cost is profitability. So the experience that I have in other markets in Asia and also in the UK where I'm from, that really for affordable housing to work, it needs to be heavily subsidized by the government. I know at the start of this session, they were talking about the various incentives that are on offer, but ultimately, yeah, the profit margins are much lower when you are developing affordable housing. Something that certainly in the UK, I know obviously you can't compare with the UK, but their part of the planning policy is that when you, as a private sector developer, when you're developing a project, you also have to allocate a certain percentage of units to affordable housing. And there are, certain other policies that the government could potentially look at implementing, but I know it's not so easy in Cambodia at this stage, but that would be one of the main opportunity costs when developing affordable housing.
Thank you. Liang Kang, you want to add one word before we close this session? Or Soknim, you want to add something before we close?
Yes, just only add some few things regarding, I think, speakers Rose and Yop Bong Sotirat I already mentioned on that. But about the affordable housing is we focus on about the scale of development that they can, whether they provide the good investment and also provide a lot of affordable to the medium and low income for the people in Cambodia. Because at the moment, when you see about the 4 countries in the Phnom Penh city, a lot of luxury house, a lot of luxury condo, they already built into that market. But for affordable housings, they don't have much. Because in Cambodia, about our GDP, we are in the middle income. It's not much high if we compare to other countries like Asian country, Thailand, Singapore, or Malaysia. So affordable housing is kind of investment that also need to get help from the royal government, that they need to some subsidize into the projects. If they have the big scale of projects, that kind of project will be good and help to reduce the more costs. Like if you have a lot of land, like 200 or 300 hectares of land, you can build the affordable housing with joint venture the government. Because in the policy of government, when they have the affordable housings, government will look into some part of subsidy. Like for example, infrastructure, about the drainage, about the utility. This is also was created in the policy of affordable housing by the royal government of Cambodia. So if you would like to prefer about the affordable housing with the big scale, so they also protect about the interest who get that kind of buying the houses. If you provide to the officer in the government or that subsidized from the royal government will get that. But if you provide to the public, maybe they just only have some part of small category that subsidized from the royal government. So when we do the affordable housing, it is the good market. They just own, I think a few developer, they already build that kind of project, just only line the projects, and then the client was booking and buy that kind of the property. In this meantime, we have some part only developer, but they just only develop in the small area, not the big area. When you do the big scale, even though the affordable housing will be reduced a lot of cost, and then people can get a lot of good price of the house to can afford for new family that they just only married. Either they would like to get the new home from their parent. So because if you compare about the number of people in Cambodia, especially in Phnom Penh city, is around 3 million people, but the number of houses is not equal to 1 million yet. So it's still another demand of the accommodation in Cambodia. That's why the project was coming out mostly sold out. This is the part of the purchasing power. All this trend is only the local. We don't consider about the foreigner that they come to work in Cambodia. The foreigner, when they come to work in Cambodia, they also require and need the accommodation. Condo will fit on that. Yes.
Sorry to interrupt you. We need to move forward because we run out of time.
Yeah. Okay. Thank you.
So thanks everyone. Thanks for participating for this panel discussion. And I leave the floor to Monica for the second panel discussion. Thanks.